So we here at the Tony Hawk, Rodney Mullen secret tapes. We're a little late. We going to our seats. How you doing? Aisle 3.
Okay, so sit down.
Check out my board. I rolled on it, seriously, no more than 5 minutes. And I'm not saying the sky opened up, but it was like, I felt good. Cruise home, asked my dad, my folks, hey, I'll do whatever it takes. I'd love to get a skateboard. And my father, stern man, he was a squadron leader to drop the atomic bomb. Need 1 million people killed, he was the guy. And one of his favorite expressions, too soon. Not no, but hell no, which he gave me with vigor, right? Told me I'd be a bum if I did it. And so basically I just took it, walked away. But at that stage, for the next months, maybe 6 months, 5 months, I more or less smuggled in magazines. It's like contraband. And I fall asleep to these images seared in my head. Finally, I think my mom got the picture. She's a quiet woman. New Year's Eve came. We're headed down for dinner, had a couple of drinks. I love my family. She just gave me a nod. Now's the time. If you want to ask again, this is your shot. And I did. Edge of pleading, but, dignity. And he looked at me and he assessed. It was different. He was like, all right, half dozen stipulations on what would trigger me quitting. And the next was, he goes, but listen to me. You're a good athlete, you should be playing golf. You are going to be like that short kid that plays basketball night and day across the street. You'll never be any good, you're not built for it. Fine, thank you. When I took it with grace before he changed his mind, I go upstairs and I remember from my window, I could see catty corner where the lit basketball hoop was at Greg's house. And I remember looking down, and again, man, it wasn't like sky lit up, but it was that sense, took a knee that I'll remember this day, So next month's pass, just kicking around again. No skate parks, nothing great going on, just, the porch. But finding back then handstands, 360s, slaloms, it was terrible back then. But I remember 1 1/4, 1 1/2 360s, 1 3/4. It took me months just to get to 2 3/4, 3 1/4, and then one day, 9. Next day, 15. At that stage, it's on. So of those stipulations, first time you get hurt, like doctors got to put you together again, you quit.
The grip tape, and I think I'd done rock and roll. I was pretty sure I could do them. And then next thing I know, I'm waking up in the pro shop with my eyebrows split open and my teeth missing. And them telling me that someone found me because no one skated the ground tile. So someone found me in the bottom of the bowl and brought me up to the pro shop. And my parents were at work. I got an ambulance, and I had an epiphany in the ambulance. And usually you would think the epiphany is, holy shit, what have I done? I can never do this again. My parents are gonna kill me. My epiphany was, I gotta learn how to do rock and rolls better. And I knew in that moment that this is what I was going to keep doing for as long as possible. And when my parents found out, they weren't mad, they weren't threatening to make me quit. They were just happy that I found something that captivated my attention instead of bugging them all the time for rides to the arcade. And my dad made me throw away my flyaway. Old school people, you know what I'm talking about. And get a Pro-Tech. Not that it was that much safer, but it looked safer. But it was the 70s, You rang your bell, get back out there. And I just knew, in that moment that I was not gonna quit. But a side note from our injuries, the best thing about knocking your teeth out is that you get to pick the size and the color of the next ones. Which I did many times.
Just jump once you get the seesaw motion. So by the time it was dark that night, Monday, I could jump a foot higher, so. And even then, no one really cared for a long time, just like Glenn said, because it wasn't useful until skating really emerged. I think it's the same for a lot of inventions. It's one thing to invent something, it's another thing to have it be useful, have it really adopted for an innovation. I think if there's something too that, like Tony says, you don't know what you're doing that has significance. Like Ollie, was that going to have significance compared to all the freestyle tricks that no one knows, like they're extinct and they're gone, that I thought were meaningful at the time? Which really rearranges your thinking of like, hey man, forget about like legacy or all that stuff. Just focus in the moment, just love what you're doing and take from other people. You never know what's already in you. A little nudge, it can change the rest. You know? So that was what I took from that. How do you do, there are so many great skaters out there who can pretty much do whatever they see with perfect textbook precision. It's just rare to find people who can do what's ever been seen. And it begs this question of creativity. And what's clear enough to me after so long, it's so many people have good ideas, but the people who are tagged with, oh, you're so creative, they have certain skill sets for manifesting ideas. Like one of them for me in particular is like navigating, if something's never been done, it's like this image where you see this vase at first, and then in the negative space, you start to see the faces looking at it. Likewise, when you don't know what to do, you're tinkering around with ideas and learning from your mistakes until what starts to manifest is the trick itself. That's one of those sort of skill sets. The others would be, I think, like, I don't know if you've ever picked a lock, it's so gratifying. If there's something that's so good to learn, it's like that's what skating is. It's like lock picking, where you get basic physics in your head of like ideas and mechanisms, but beyond that, you just listen and feel the movements of where they're going. The last I would say, and again, I touched on this with Bones Brigade, of like you're labeled as creative. I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm really creative, but I love lock picking. You know? And it's this idea of belief. And belief is almost like this corny thing of like, oh yeah, you believe, right? Or visualize. Like, yeah, I don't know it works like that. But there is. Like 4 Minute Mile is a classic example, right? Where all the best dudes, happens with us all the time, 900 especially. All the best skaters from around the world are striving after one particular goal. One finally lands it, puts it out there, and then suddenly random people start doing it, and they're not necessarily the dudes you'd expect.
10-year-olds.
It's not necessarily technique or whatever, but it's the belief that you can do what's never been done, like with that kind of power to manifest it. In that sense, that kind of belief is rarer than talent, and when you have them both in that like degree, X-Men style, you get like light touch and slow timing is what you need. Well, that gets baked into the movements themselves, and you can't get them out like an accent. So by the time you transpose that, bring them to the ground, street skaters learn the same basic moves, it looks so bad that you give it a disease-sounding name. So me coming from freestyle, oh my gosh, I had a different form of it when it came to street skating. It embedded this stick-like jerky movement that was pathetic. And I was in the same, freestyle was more or less dead, and I started picking it up a little bit at a time, just skating. Again, I was working days, doing shapes for the dudes, bananas, all that stuff, like bringing them things, trying to adapt. And gradually, like, it is amazing the number of things that have to be relearned. Even where your eyes set when you're looking all in over something, as a freestyle, you never have to look at anything. So I was like plowing into benches and stuff. It's that subtle. You didn't even understand all the things you have to relearn and pave over, which makes it all the more frustrating. The flip side of that is it shapes your creative ideation in a way that actually, well, I'll show this.
Basically, that was the culmination of all my street efforts in those early birdhouse years. I picked up those skills. I learned how to flip my board better, and I learned how to treat the top of the coping like it's a ledge. And at some point, I knew that my street skills weren't moving the needle. I knew that if I was really going to survive these years, I would have to move back into places where I could knee slide. And I'm on tour with the Birdhouse crew. I rolled one ankle super bad. I ended up going out with them filming ended up rolling the other one super bad, just dropping down a curb. And I knew that if I'm gonna keep skating, I gotta just stick to vert. And so that really allowed me to explore those kind of tricks, and I think that shifted my skill set and really was this huge improvement that I didn't even realize was happening. And I'm thankful to go through those years, but you would not want to see me skating a ledge, I promise.
So, like Tony, man, I was learning ABC. Like Tony, I was learning kind of ABCs. There's no going back to freestyle, right? And I remember so much learning like basic crooked grind, struggling to pull it off, all that stuff. And finally I got to a point of like, wait, I can do this. I think I got something. I'm gonna start pulling more from what I know. One of the things that opened my eyes to that is, think about this, like I had a company at that stage. I was helping bring along young amateurs. And so I had the power, weirdly enough, to make other kids, like I was coming from, like me coming out of Florida, to make their dreams come true. So you get all these thoughts in your tapes back then, like stacks of them where kids are trying everything. And I remember seeing tape after tape of these kids that were better than I was. They could knock off these tricks with for us, World Industries had blossomed into seeming like a half dozen companies, Korean with action, like all that we were killing it. It was bigger than ever. We got a CFO, CEO. It was insane. We'd sold 70% of it to Wonder Pace, this big dudes out of San Francisco. And it was, we couldn't believe the things that were happening. At the same time, all for oneness kind of descended a little bit into Lord of the Flies. There was a little bit of division that was finding its way in. It was fun. It was awesome. Steve thought he would go on tour. He put everyone in the Four Seasons or these crazy hotels. But at the same time, there was that sense of, dude, we don't need the Four Seasons. We're happy. Like, if you got the extra money, like, spend it on us. And at the same time, I'd come deeper and deeper with the riders as I was learning street skate more, and I saw more and more the perspective, and as the company grew bigger, I saw the same sorts of division. I felt in this very small way, Powell getting back with the handbooks of, hey, they should be doing more of this, and they should be wearing more logos, and they should be whatever. Like, that was a blank board days too, which was definitely a bad thing to do, got in a lot of trouble. Point B is there was division. And I wasn't acting as much on behalf of the company, but the flip side of that is, as far as riders and teams go, they're hard to maintain for super long. And sometimes, like, somebody's got to go. So I became known 007, double agent, licensed to kill. Because I would have to have that talk of, please. Like, and believe me, at this stage I had dealt with a lot of parole officers, like all kinds of characters. Tour was insane, you know, the types of things you're dealing with. But at the same time, it's your chance to make it. But sometimes it just fell off the rails. So eventually there was enough tension that what's normal happens. But in our case, it was the next thing to a coup. And again, it deserved to be done. There was all the wrong things that we see in the movies that were happening, trust us. So when that split came, before that, there was what was called the World Park. It's just a warehouse. And if anyone paid attention to the videos, going there every night, that's when anybody, Guy, Costin, Rudy, like Bronny Bettino, like all of these amazing skaters, every night, day one, lived.
Just got back from the Rodney Mullen, Tony Hawk Secret Tapes event. It was so much fun. Learned so much. My whole perspective on skating, how I'm about to go at everything is about to change. And I really appreciate them so much for their insights and their experiences. It was so much fun. What you thought, babe? Was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, it was a great night. And seeing how these legends going about skateboarding and talking about their career and how they were just doing things because they genuinely love skating. And like, yeah, they want to make money, but like skateboarding is more than that, and it's like always gonna be more than that. And like every true skater knows this, like that feeling of learning a trick and like landing it for the first time, and your friends being hyped on it. There's nothing like it. So like, I'm sure this has been such a learning experience, not only for me, for so many people in there. I seen that it's just they need to do this more. I feel like they need more like interaction. I feel like a sit down, like more pros should do this. Just go to different cities and talk to people about like just their experiences. Like I would love to see Stevie Williams talk about this, or like who else? P-Rod, Shane O'Neill. These like real people that go to like different countries and see these like different communities that's learning how to skate now. But like 20 years ago, that wasn't a thing. And like their experience, like they're being the people like that they're looking up to them. I don't know, maybe I'm just chatting, but it was a great night, and I just want to put this out there. Everybody, go watch. Like if they ever post this on YouTube, go watch the secret tapes. It's super sick. It was a great night. Well, for the rest of y'all, have a great night. I'm about to get on the game. See y'all online.